that Sam and I have been working on. Both of us are architects with BNIM, and we've been working in this place for quite a number of years. But let me just do a quick introduction to our office, where we normally work. We spend a lot of time on computers, but we also have a lot of different spaces in our office to gather together to present our ideas and things like that. We also have areas to hang out in a different kind of way, either having lunch at the farm table or in our break area, preparing our lunches. And we do a bunch of different kind of work as architectural designers. So we do a lot of places where we live, whether they're single family homes or apartments, or one that's made out of shipping containers. We also do design a lot of workplaces. So we design both the inside and the outside of our buildings and try to make this work well together. We also create places where we play. So we did the master plan for the Kansas City Zoo, as well as some of the exhibits that are there. And then we've done a bit of work with the Boy Scouts. So some of their camps and some of the buildings that are on some of their camps. And then we also do different types of learning spaces. So the Discovery Center, if you've been there down on the plaza, we designed that a number of years ago. We designed Paseo High School many years ago. This is a learning station down in Springfield, Missouri, that's on a lake where different classes are held. And then this one was in the underground in the caves. It was a project called Earthworks. We do a lot of sketching in our work to either generate or work through some ideas we have that puts all the different pieces of a building together, whether it's the site or the plumbing or the landscape or the neighborhood around it. We also use our computers a lot to generate diagrams that try to express our ideas and how we're trying to bring different components together. So that was about bringing daylight into the building or natural ventilation, or how we're treating water within the building and using it. And then we do a lot of detailed renderings on the computer to help our customers or our clients really understand what their building and site are going to look like. So this is one example of that at 16th and Baltimore. So now Sam's going to jump in and talk about our project in Kenya, unless he just got unplugged somehow.
No, sorry, my computer was about to die, so good now. But so anyways, this is our project in rural Western Kenya. It's right on the Kenya-Uganda border, and it's Asialon Christian High School. So just to give a little context, you can see on the map on the left of Africa, you can see where Kenya is located, and then the map on the right, when we go there, Laura and I have been there a number of times. We fly into Nairobi, and it's about a day's journey to West Pokot there on the upper left there. And you can see that kind of that gray swath through there is the Great Rift Valley, which is a major seismic and earthquake zone. And so we have to design for things like that. And so I think the next slide, one of the biggest kind of components to us learning about a new place that's not of our own is that we need to interact with the community. And so we interact with the teachers and the local community elders to learn what makes the most sense for designing a building in this place. When we went there, the first time we went there, we surveyed a plot of land. And so we took survey equipment with us and kind of surveyed the outer boundaries of this and then did a site master plan. And so what's unique about a high school in Kenya is that it's a boarding school, and so all the students live on campus. And then what's unique about this campus in particular is that it's also a community center. And so when we design in this place, we take a stock of existing buildings, and so that building on the left is a home; it's a mud hut. And then the building in the middle is what a typical classroom looks like. And then the building on the right is how we've adapted sort of these two existing designs to create a better, more functioning kind of building. And so the building on the right is actually the classroom building that we design. Because it's in a seismic zone where it's prone to earthquakes, we had to change the construction method from what they typically do to create a more safe building. And so what kind of the diagrams are showing here is that we're creating a more seismically safe kind of building, which tweaks the building and construction process a bit. And so another thing that we do is we listen, we take stock of kind of existing conditions. And so the building on that left is a grain storage hut. And we just really loved how beautiful the wicker weavings were on that. And so we incorporated that into the design and had the women from the community who typically make these huts integrate that into kind of the frames and panels on the new buildings for the high school campus. And that was something that they were really proud to work on and excited to be a part of. And so we also look at the layers of design and how daylight is incredibly important in these spaces. Acoustics are incredibly important for a classroom, capturing rainwater, and also kind of natural ventilation being super important. So opening up all the windows, because there's no air conditioning in these buildings. It's really important to create a well-ventilated building that's comfortable and creates a good learning environment. And so these are some images of the buildings. And so this is a teacher housing where the teachers live. The teachers live on campus. They each get their own room within that building. And these are two of the classroom buildings, 2 classrooms in each. And then the next one is also an image of the classroom buildings. You see these breezeways are important kind of outdoor shaded spaces, create good, comfortable learning environments and hangout spaces that are offer protection from the hot sun. And then you can see the breezeways here between the classrooms. Lots of good hangout space for the students in between classes. And then inside the classroom, they're really good daylight, which creates a really good learning environment. You can see the papyrus ceilings, which creates a good buffer from the metal roof above it. And I think that's it.
I think that's it. Mm-hmm.
So just have a few minutes here for some questions if you guys have any.
Was there, I guess I can pose this question to both you, Samuel and Laura, but was there, anything as you work towards the career that you're in now that inspired, the work that you do? Was there something that you realized about yourselves when you were younger that inspired you to get into the field you now work in?
Yeah, for me, I kind of through high school, I had done a lot of construction work in my summers off, and just learned that I loved the making kind of process. And I've always found myself gravitating towards kind of the blueprints and the plans of the buildings that we were working on. And so I took a drawing class and really loved it. And so I kind of eventually made my way kind of towards that and visited. I went to Iowa State for architecture and visited the architecture school there and was just blown away and knew that was kind of the way that I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know I wanted to be an architect until I went to college, where I went to a university where science and technology was really big. But I realized really quickly that I didn't want to do that all the time. And I happened to take an architecture class, and I realized that balance between art and science, which is what architecture is at some level, was really fascinating to me. So balancing those two things has always been a really nice feature about the profession. And then I also realized when I was in high school, I was in a Spanish class, and I took a trip abroad with our Spanish class for a week to Spain. And that's when I realized that I loved being in other countries.
And I'm sure, go ahead, Chase, sorry, go ahead.
All right, so I had a question. How long did these buildings take to make, like all of the buildings?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, we've been working on this campus for about 10 years now. And each building takes around a year for construction, more or less depending on which building it was. But then the design process of it too takes, I don't know, maybe around 6 months, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for a while it was kind of like one building per year was being designed and built. I'll just leave it there for reference. Anything else? I don't know how long these sessions are
Yeah, they're supposed to be 10 minutes, but with them
Okay.
restructured, you know, we can certainly hang out and keep talking, or we can wrap it up, whichever the members of the conversation would prefer. So if you guys have other questions, feel free to go ahead.
Aislinn,
Okay.
I don't know how to say your name, but you're muted if you're talking. Sorry.
How many like students are the housing able to?
Yeah. So right now, if they were in school this year, there'd be 4 classes. So freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors, and there's I think it's like 40, maximum of 40 in a class. So up to 320 students, eventually once all the buildings are built, up to 320 students would be living and going to school on this campus. How big are your high schools?
At my high school, there's like 2,000, and we're getting more because our former superintendent, before he left, he changed the boundaries because one school was so the thing is, all these people wanted to go to one school because it was the newest, the best. So he had to like split the boundary, and they sent them to our middle school and high school. So our middle school became overpopulated. My high school became overpopulated, and from it, the other 2 high schools will be underpopulated, and we'll be over here with like 3,500 students.
Oh, wow.
So,
where do you go?
I go to East Summit.
Okay.
So.
What about you, Aislinn?
Well, I go to Van Horn, and I don't think we have like 2,000 and something students. I think we have like probably like 1,500 at my school. But right now we're just like going back and forth between who's there at my school.
Sure.
Cool.
What are some unique challenges that are presented when you're working abroad as opposed to here domestically?
I feel like learning from the place is incredibly important. And so having lots of conversations with people there and spending time there, learning about the culture, the people, the place, the climate, all of those things, because it's so much different than what we're used to here. And so I think the other thing is, because it's in such a remote place, being extremely resourceful with the building materials and learning where those building materials come from. You know, like all the bricks were made on site. All the concrete was mixed on site. The steel was all welded on site. And so we had to learn where we could get, you know, building materials from, and then how we could kind of fabricate them on site as well. So
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Yeah, also the technology is an issue because we are in communication every week. With 1 day a week, we're talking with the contractor as he's building, so he's sending photos to us, and we're trying to have conversations. But every week, we don't know if the connectivity is going to be good enough. So sometimes it takes us 20 minutes out of an hour to just make sure we're all hearing each other well. And that, I mean, if he's in a place where it's raining and there isn't good acoustics going on, we can't hear anything because the rain is so loud. Or just sometimes the internet is an issue. And sometimes Sam and I have gotten used to hearing their accent in English. So English is a common language there, but they just have a different accent. And so I know new people that join us sometimes have a little bit of a hard time sort of getting up to speed on what they're hearing, even with English.
Makes sense. I'm sure there's a bit more, you know, flexibility and maybe improvisation that has to be involved when, you know, working in that type of location.